Hello everyone, El Presidente Tel here, bringing you another update on the phone hacking scandal. Now, the first major story on this week came from Heather Mills, the ex-wife of Paul McCartney, who detailed a story in which she had called a Mirror reporter who had told her that she'd had a conversation with her boyfriend at the time, Sir Paul McCartney, and that there had been quite an argument. And when she asked how that had happened and said, "Had you hacked my phone? Because if you have, I'm going to go to the police," he said, "Yeah, we did hack your phone and we're not going to print it," which has brought another spin. There's even more scrutiny now on the press in the UK. Let me be clear from the start. I said at the very beginning of this, News Corporation was the one that got caught. I'd never said News Corporation were the ones who perpetrated this alone. I figured if they were doing it, there was a good chance that some of the others were as well. And now it's just the fact that Trinity Mirror Group has got caught doing it too. Possibly even at times now when Piers Morgan was editor of the paper. A lot of stuff coming out now about how much did he really know with regards to phone hacking, especially with the expose with regards to former England manager Sven-Göran Eriksson having an extramarital affair with Ulrika Johnson, which is said he may have admitted that it came from hacked information. The next story that I'm going to touch on is the fact that Elizabeth Murdoch, the daughter of Rupert Murdoch, head of News Corporation, has refused a seat on the board of News Corporation this week. Now, that's probably down to two things. One is the fact that News Corporation doesn't need to be seen as nepotistic right now, because it's already in enough trouble having his son James as head of B-Sky B, despite the fact they paid off the entire shareholding group with £1 billion worth of dividends to keep him in. And the other reason is that I'm going to put a link to a story in Reuters that, due to the fact that when Rupert Murdoch bought Elizabeth Murdoch's television company Shine, they were actually sued by News Corporation investors in the US, stating that it was absolutely blatant nepotism and that there should be no place for that kind of business deal in News Corporation because it's not a family fiefdom, it's actually a going concern. But there'll be all kinds of legal ramifications on that one, more on it as it goes. But the one I really wanted to touch on, it's not going to sound like it's connected to phone hacking, but I'm going to put it in there anyway, is the story in The Sun this week about the BNP's regional secretary in London, Chris Hurst, who they undercover filmed at a Hungarian far-right festival, giving the old Roman salute, or the Nazi salute as you might call it, to the Swedish singer Saga, who is said to be the inspiration. In part, she was mentioned by Anders Breivik, who carried out the Norway massacre. Now, I haven't done a video on the Norway massacre, mainly because I don't want to, because I don't feel I'm going to say anything that hasn't already been said a million times and isn't relevant. But I wanted to touch on this story because I just reading it and how they really kick into the BNP, it almost makes you feel sorry for them. And it also shows how desperate News Corporation have got. I mean, how desperate does your public relations image have to be for you to use the British National Party as a human shield? I mean, really, is this the best they could come up with? Some bloke goes to a far-right festival, sticks his arm out at a funny angle at a pop singer, and instantly that's going to bring down the whole BNP, is it? I mean, this isn't anything people don't know. Nick Griffin's done a fairly respectable job. You've got to admire him for at least trying to make the party halfway legitimate. I mean, he got them some seats somewhere. But you could always guess that there's this element within the party that probably still believe the old National Front, white power, white is right kind of ideology. Now, I'm not saying that the BNP are Nazis. I'm not saying they're National Socialist. I'm not even saying that they would advocate that kind of thinking. But you know that in any party there are extremists and people who don't always toe the line. But that is not the point I'm getting into. I'm not going to get into an argument on BNP ideology. I just find it funny that News Corporation is having to resort to using the BMP as some kind of escape route from all this phone hacking. Like, oh look, there's someone worse than us. When that's really weak, guys. I mean, come up with something a bit better, why don't you? Anyways, just thought I'd share that with everyone. This is El Presidente Tel. Love, peace, and liberty.